Bamidbar, Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe Bamidbar Sinai bo'ol moed be'echad lachodesh hasheni b'shana hashenit l'tzeitam me'eretz Mitzrayim le'mor. The beginning of Sefer Bamidbar, the counting is specifically in the second year after leaving Mitzrayim, in the second month. That's when we start to count. If we skip ahead to Bamidbar Perek Tet in Parshat Ba'alotcha, introduction to Pesach Sheni. Right before that, talking about the Korban Pesach, it says, "Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe b'midbar Sinai b'shana hashenit l'tzeitam me'eretz Mitzrayim b'chodesh harishon le'mor." The first month, second year, first month, clearly out of order. Tosos in Kiddushin brings down that Rashi says that we see ein mukdam u'muchar b'Torah. We know this. We have this rule that says ein mukdam u'muchar b'Torah. The Torah is not written in a chronological order. Very nice. Rashi says b'chol zot. So why was it written out of order? Why did we not start with Bamidbar Perek Tet? V'lama lo patach bezu? Answers Rashi in Parshat Ba'alotcha. Mimnei shu gnutan shel Yisrael. Because it's a poor reflection on Am Yisrael. It speaks badly about Am Yisrael. Why? Shekol arba'im shana, that Am Yisrael, all the 40 years that we were in the desert, lo ikrivu ela pesach zebova. We only brought this Korban Pesach. That's why we switch it out of order, because we don't want to start the book of Bamidbar on a negative note, a negative reflection of Am Yisrael. Asks Tosfot in Masechet Kiddushin, and Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Bet, what type of poor reflection is this? What is this gnut? We know in Shmot Perek Yud Bet Pasach Chaf Hey, when talking about the Korban Pesach, the Pasuk immediately preceding what Chazal tell us is the Rasha's question of Vaya ki omru, question statement. Vaya ki omru aleichem ma havodah azot lachem. Immediately before that, in Pasuk Chaf Hey, it says Vaya ki tavo el haaretz ushmartem et avodah azot, meaning that the Korban Pesach seems to be dependent on Eretz Yisrael. Tosfot Masechet Kiddushin, when asking this question, knows that there's a Tana that says that even more so, when it says the word Biyah, Tavo el Haaretz, that it's not only coming to Israel, but it's even after the 14 years of the division, of after the conquering and the division of the land per tribe. So the question's even on how did they bring the Korban Pesach in chapter 5 at the time of Yoshua. So what is this gnut that Rashi's talking about, that we needed to push it out of order to chapter 9 as opposed to chapter 1 in Sefer Bamidbar? Tosfos' answer is that so first of all, the original answer is the reason how they brought that korban was because Hashem told them to. But the bottom line is, since they didn't have to, there's no min hadin. Again, we go back to our original question: is what is this negative reflection? What is this gnut? Tosfos answers here in Kiddushin on Lamed Zayin Amud Bet that since we stayed so long in Chutz La'aretz in the Midbar for 40 years, because the gnut is the Chet HaMeraglim. Because of the Avon Meraglim, that is the gnut, we shouldn't have stayed so long. That's one answer of Tosfot. The Maral Prague gives another answer. The Maral, in his Gura Aryeh, after quoting Tosfot, says, Lefi da'ati. I'll give you a different answer. He says that even if we were patur min mitzvah, or if it's out of your control, ones rachmana patre, he says it's still a gnai. It's still negative reflection if you didn't perform the mitzvah. Because you didn't do the mitzvah. We have a principle, ones rachmana patre, that when you do, something's out of your control, Hashem exempts you. It's an exemption, says the Maral Prague, from punishment. But there's still a bottom line that you didn't fulfill the mitzvah. The gnut here is you didn't do the mitzvah. Shelo asat ha-mitzvah, you didn't get the schut, you didn't get the sachar, you didn't do the mitzvah. And he goes on, and he says that even if you want to say Suma is patur min mitzvah, a blind person is patur min mitzvah, you want to say v'chi ein gnai lo davar zeh she patur, she yoter tov she chayav. He says being exempt from something is not something to be proud of. You should want to feel that you have to be chayiv for it. He might be hinting to the Gemara in Kiddushin on Daf Lamed Aleph that says, Gadol mitzuva v'ose yoter mimishena mitzuva v'ose. Greater is the person that's commanded. And he might be hinting to the Gemara that Rav Yosef, when he first learned the Gemara, he thought, as most people do, a person who is magnanimous and volunteers to do the mitzvah is even greater. And therefore, he originally thought, that if we don't paskin like Rav Chanina that says, Gadol mitzuva v'ose yoter mimishena mitzuva v'ose, so he wanted to make a party. Because Suma pater min mitzvah, and therefore I'm going to be magnanimous, I'm going to be great. Avdina yom tiv l'rabbanan. Because I'm not commanded, I'm going to do it. But now he says, wow, that Rav Chanina says, Gadol mitzuva v'ose yoter mimishena mitzuva v'ose. He says, Adarabba, I'd rather that the halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda. And Avdina Yom Tov Rabbanan. Comes the Marami Prague and tells us that there's something within our philosophy that you want to have this idea of being not just ticking the boxes, checking the boxes, and say I'm okay, but have this mindset of being an Eved Hashem, of being ought to, what needs to be done. He goes a step further. And he says, maybe, but by truma, in all the mitzvot tluyot ba'aretz, there lochal ha-mitzvah le'em legamre, ad sheba'u la'aretz. So maybe there's a difference where you never, ever, were ever obligated, and therefore you're exempt. But once you've done something, the Pesach, shasu kvar b'shana shniya, now, rak shiyu p'turim mimenu ad sheba'u la'aretz, gnai lahem zeh, he goes a step further and he says it's true. On one level, if you're totally exempt, there are different roles in Judaism. But he says once you've accepted something upon yourself, even if you're not exactly chayav, this is something that you tasted and it's mechayev you. It obligates you to want more, do more. Many of us, Baruch Hashem, have great education. And once we get involved in something, we feel like, check, I've done it. But the Marami Prague is saying, no, you have to continue wanting into doing more. So there's the first level of understanding there's a gnus that the Torah switches the order, that you didn't get it done. And that's something that we have to continue striving for, to continue wanting to do more and more. Especially for those people that have started Daf Yomi now. You finish Nashim, Givaldik, Mazal Tov, now comes Babla Ka'ama. Amazing. Whether it's in the chesed projects that people are involved in the community, whatever they're involved with. But then there's the second level, which is once you have started something, to have that ability, to have that mindset, to continue going and wanting more. Because if not, then it's considered a gnut, even if you didn't have a chiyuv. May we be zocha as we are celebrating Yom Yerushalayim, to have this feeling of Kedushat Yerushalayim, of wanting to continue having Yerushalayim even more shalem, to feel this Kedusha of wanting to not have the Gnut, but the idea of wanting it more, not just say, okay, we have this Yerushalayim, but Baruch Hashem, Bezrat Hashem, to continue building, to be building not only of Talmidei Chachamim, but of Yerushalayim, as HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives our leaders, whether it's within Malei Dumim, etc., to be able to continue building up Yerushalayim within our mitzvah observance, within our Talmud Torah, and we should have a Shabbat Shalom and a Yom Yerushalayim Sameach.